you got nearly 700 people. Let's give some behind the scenes here because I'm a little pissed off. Let's do it. I drove 9 hours straight to Michigan recently during this pandemic, so I didn't have to fly. And I met in a parking lot, I think it was 10 degrees, with an editor from the Detroit Free Press. I pitched this to them first because I felt this would get a lot more impact if it was in a Michigan outlet. And Detroit Free Press is pretty big. They had passed on stories I did before. So this was a step in the right direction. All right, they're actually meeting with me. I wasn't going to give them everything I had via email because a lot of these places will try to steal your shit. New York Times has tried to steal my stuff before. But I met with him. I showed him everything I had. He said to me, and I quote, "Yeah, I kind of regret that we haven't done more on the investigative side here. We've covered the medical stuff, but we haven't really done much as far as the cover up." I said, "Well, we all forgive. Here it is. Let Detroit Free Press could do it. I told them, listen, if you want to throw one of your reporters' names up there with me to feel more comfortable, I'll take second fiddle. You could put one of your reporters first, even though I got all this with Jen." So he told me, "Yeah, I regret not doing more." He said, "Well, what you have here is kind of circumstantial." I said, "Yeah, we don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. But journalistically, what we have here is the governor of Michigan, 6 months after the water switch, his chief of staff, his health director, scrambling on the phone for 2 days in rapid fire phone calls while Legionella, the deadly Legionella outbreak that he claimed he didn't know anything about till much later, is setting off alarm bells in his environmental department, in his health department." I said to Detroit Free Press, "Do you think they were on the phone, discussing the weather? What do you think they were talking about?" Most investigative reporting, a lot of it is circumstantial, but it's circumstantial based on documents and facts and sources. I mean, hell, we just had Russiagate for 5 years, which was not even circumstantial. It was out of thin air. So he said, "All right, if it was up to me, this editor, I would say yes, but I got to go to my editor above me." I said, "Okay." I held it for a week. I didn't reach out to any other outlet. He comes back to me. "Yeah, we think what you have is great here, but we just don't have the resources right now to invest in this." I said, "Really? Because I've done my homework and you have an investigative team of 7 reporters. You don't have the resources with 7 reporters? What are you currently investigating? I understand COVID has hit Michigan hard. So, okay. I'm assuming some of your reporters are on that. But what are you investigating that you don't have the resources to possibly break the biggest environmental cover-up of the 21st century?" I say that this is the biggest. Let's take away environmental and just say this is one of the biggest cover-ups of the 21st century. They were covering this up in real time as people were drinking that water, not after, during. And he said to me, "We just don't have the resources. I wish you luck." So this is the Detroit Free Press, okay? Free Press is in the name. I've had the Detroit News when I broke with Jen the story for Vice. We broke for Vice in April, Graham, that the governor's right-hand man was going around offering payoffs to sick Flint residents. We broke in April that the governor knew about Legionella then. We just didn't have the phone calls then, but we had everything else. We broke in April previously unknown details about that shady financial deal I told you about. Detroit Free Press tells me, "Yeah, a lot of this has been reported already." I said, "What are you talking about? None of this has been reported. None of this has been reported." They wouldn't talk. They wouldn't do it. The local Flint Journal, which is the Flint Journal, it's the Flint hometown paper. They have literally been reporting press releases from Rick Snyder's administration for 6 years. I literally email the main Flint reporter from the Flint Journal, who's been on the Flint water crisis. At this point, I don't even give a fuck. And I email him, subject line, "Are you going to perform journalism today?" Link. Because they won't touch this stuff. So this isn't only about, Graham, lazy media. this isn't only about, I don't know, just bad media, inept media. They're making active choices to be part of the cover-up. They're making active choices to stop this information from reaching its readers. So I don't know, like I said, I literally drove to Michigan in part to meet with the Detroit Free Press because I'm not sending these documents via email. I'm not sending them via fax. I'm not sending them anywhere. I have to show you. And I have the receipts. And The Intercept, to its credit, I know a lot of people, have issues, but when they saw this, they were like, holy shit, let's start writing this. Like, that's how actual journalists think, but we don't have any. I mean, frankly, if we want to really put it out there, I mean, obviously I was let go from the Young Turks for other reasons, but before I was let go a few months earlier, I had to fight with Cenk to send me to Flint. He didn't want to send me to Flint anymore. He said it was a local story at this point. I said to him, Cenk, didn't you just raise $2 million off of my name and my work? Well, guess what? They gave you $2 million because I keep going back to Flint, because I kept going to Standing Rock. So like, you're saying it's a local story? I don't think poisoning American citizens and then leaving them to die is local. I mean, it's happening in a city per se, and you don't want to send me there, but you want to shift my attention to investigating Trump. I told him I left the corporate media for a reason. I'm not interested in investigating Trump. I mean, am I going to break? He wanted me to investigate the Bank of Cyprus and Wilbur Ross, his commerce secretary. So, that's a whole nother story. But it honestly, man, it's not just that we need it's not just that we need new elected officials. We need an entire new media system. The Telecommunications Act of 1996, which kind of sounds boring, and who cares about that act? That the Telecommunications Act of 1996, signed by Bill Clinton, has helped create all of this because it has basically created a facade that is the media. We don't have media. We have corporations that have hijacked journalistic institutions. And, I see all the time, Graham, I know I'm long-winded, but I'll wrap it up. No, I see all the time, these pissing matches on Twitter. And between Jimmy and this person, I see pissing matches, people saying I'm not a journalist, this and that. I see people claiming they're journalists and claiming theories as journalism and this and that. The bottom line is I don't have the authority on journalists. I'm not God's gift to the world by any means. But I will say this, it is alarming to me. And Jen, my partner, feels the same way. I keep going back to Flint. There are no let me rephrase. There are about 2 investigative reporters still reporting on the Flint water crisis in a country of, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 journalists. There's about 2 still investigating the Flint water crisis. There's about, I'd say, 10 to 15 journalists that investigate indigenous stories and indigenous communities fighting pipelines. There is about, I don't know, a handful covering Black Lives Matter before George Floyd. Half the time I wish I had a documentary crew following me, but I don't have the money. I remember, Graham, I was in Cleveland last year. There was a press conference held by activists because in Cleveland, they had in a month, 90 children had high lead levels. Majority Black city. In a month, they found 90 kids with elevated blood levels, which is kind of a sign that there's something wrong. They were on the steps of City Hall, Graham. Do you know I, who am not from Cleveland, myself and my cameraman, was the only media there? I mean, it's just, people don't get it. We shit on MSNBC. We shit on MSNBC, CNN, New York Times. I don't think people get the magnitude of the media crisis. There is no media. There is local media that essentially just reports what the police tell them, reports what the governor tells them, and that's it. And it's until You know, we can protest governors, we could protest presidents, we could protest health departments, we could protest all these things. Until you get your ass outside CNN, outside MSNBC, outside your local media. To be clear, I'm not talking about being violent. I'm just talking about public pressure, nonviolent movements. Nothing is going to change until you shame these media companies.
Yeah, I mean, it's really alarming and really disheartening. I mean, because you've got the big media giants, and then you've just got a bunch of shows like ours. I mean, they're really like, we're barely, you know, I mean, and then, you know, TYT, which was supposed to be the big hero of the online independent media, has gone, they're just MSNBC light now. And this is not the first. Cenk didn't want to do something for, you know, any sort of, he didn't want to do any activist thing. Again, that's all I've heard from about this guy. You know, Jimmy was like, we should, you know, organize a boycott of Walmart. He's like, oh, I don't really want to support unions, you know, because then he'd have to unionize his staff. And I mean, it's embarrassing. I mean, it's really, I mean, I honestly have like, I mean, there's days I go, am I really? There's like 9 of us trying. I mean, I'm a goddamn comedian. Like I should be telling jokes and surfing instead, you know, like it's amazing that this is like, you're like an actual journalist. Then you got comedians like me and Jimmy and Lee Camp, and, you know, and there's nobody, I mean, like it's insane to me. I feel like we're the only ones even trying, and yeah, I don't even know what the fuck to do sometimes. I really feel like I feel like, and then when you see like this, like all this cat fighting online, you know, Jimmy just wanted to do force the vote, and people like, well, it's a good idea, but I don't like Jimmy, so I'm not going to get behind it. And all of that crap.
Let me tell you, if that was Cenk's idea, the same exact people that were against it would have been. Yeah. And
you know what? I would have supported Cenk for that. And so would have Jimmy. And so would have you. Because I would have gone, yeah, there's a lot I disagree with Cenk with, but it's a good idea. A good idea is a good idea. Look, if Trump said, I'm going to give Medicare for all before I leave office, I'd be like, great, you racist asshole. I thank you for free healthcare. You know, like, I don't like you, but thank you for the free healthcare. He wanted to give me $2,000 and Pelosi doesn't. I would have taken his $2,000 and gone, I'm going to, whatever I'm going to do with this. I'm going to give this to Black Lives Matter, buy Bitcoin or something. But just like, and the fact that like, I've watched you cover Flint and I've watched you go out there, and I'm glad to see Status Quo growing. And like, you had a camera operator at the Capitol last week. But again, I mean, that day was just scrambling to find anyone with footage. And I had you and then 2 other YouTubers who, you know, have some different points of view than I do. And it was just like, I can't, you know, because I want to sit here, and usually I like to give my audience like what's an action. I don't want to just complain everything's collapsing. Like, what can you do? And obviously, like you say, pressure media, pressure the feds. But when you say that there's so much money tied to these pipelines, and one of the things that helped create this was just fracking, well, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris looked dead into the camera during the debates and said, we're not going to ban fracking. So, you know.
I got to tell you, I mean, I know I think we're well past public pressure, to be honest with you.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, where you can support the show. Also, I have a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and an Ethereum wallet in the show notes. We're taking cryptocurrency. I have a Coinbase affiliation link. We're going to be getting on some other exchanges. So that's how you support the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. YouTube is unsubscribing us at an alarming rate. I have a PayPal button at GrahamElwood.com. I even have a Venmo at Graham-Elwood. There's a lot of ways to support our show. We are getting crushed by YouTube. We've dipped under 73,000 subscribers because of YouTube. Thanks for supporting what we do.